Good afternoon. Welcome to the Monday, July 14th, 2025 meeting of the Riverfront Advisory Committee. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll open public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Item 3, review and approval of the minutes. I know Joe sent them out this morning. I'll admit I have not had a chance to look at them, and in the absence of 2 other members, would propose tabling review and approval of the minutes to August. If everyone thinks that's a decent idea. So item number 4, start at the top with kind of continued discussion of the tax increment financing district under RSA 79E. So Bart, welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon. So in front of you, 3 things. First 2 items are maps. And then, so people who are watching this will watch this. The maps kind of redelineate based off the discussion previous meeting about who should qualify, where the zone should be, because we talked about like maybe not just building improvements but also land improvements, more resilient resiliency within the landscape. So based off that discussion, I decided to, understand, what buildings that exist now would be affected, and what land's going to be affected if there were to be any type of flooding. So the data used to understand how these properties flood zones. A zones and AE zones, and then BC as well. We don't have that much of that, but so all the high prone or more likely to flood areas. The exception is the bowl. Exeter Road there. That's just based off experience that the town has. So that's the only exception to that. So if you look at the big map, it kind of zooms into downtown. That's where you see the majority of the structures that would be affected. Mostly a single family, but there are some apartment buildings, especially in New Village. Obviously downtown as well. I'd say the most of properties that would be most affected by this are the apartment buildings in Piscataway Street. That's the New Village, is up here. Kind of near Sliding Rock area. And then properties along 108 Main Street, those are just single family homes, but they are within the flood zone. And then again, and also downtown. So I kind of want to show, I want to kind of parse this out and just show you, what the current landscape is. And the reason why I think we should also include lands, because I think there's an opportunity to incentivize resiliency, especially along the coast, Great Bay, with this this ordinance, and also in flood-prone areas like in the Piscataway, so river area. So I think if we try to incentivize, just another tool for us to use to become more resilient, and so I just want to kind of leave it there. I just kind of go over what this statute allows for. This is on page 3 in this packet. Is elevation freeboard renovations. So basically to raise your building, elevate mechanicals that are attached to or part of the property, construction and resilient natural features. So again, that's what this yellow area would help, would qualify. Enhancement and creation of marshes. And then elevation of private driveways and sidewalks. And then also construction of enlargement of private culverts and other structures to enable increased water flow and storm surge, and movement of property to higher elevation on property or to a newly acquired property at a higher elevation within the municipality. So my question to committee is, should we consider expanding as proposed to allow for property owners to improve their land, or at least incentivize property owners to improve the land, become more resilient, or should we concentrate more on structures? Structures that are already at risk of becoming damaged through a flooding event, more likely to be damaged.
That's tough. So, again, like, I think personally, I don't see an issue with expanding it. That doesn't seem like a bad idea. I guess the counterpoint that comes to mind for discussion is like, so the town would have to actually fund this, like have a pot of money available for people to leverage it if they decided, oh, I have this project that I want to put it forward. My only, I guess, concern is like seeing the location and size of some of these parcels. Like, are any of them majorly developable? Like, could one parcel on New Road clear out the 3 years of street funding and not allow for anything else? Like, I think that's the only counterpoint that I would have, or concern that I would have to expanding the zone, is just like, do you run the risk of one project sucking all of that funding away? I honestly don't know.
Well, this is through, so this would be through not a capital reserve fund, but through an agreement with the town council for property tax abatement.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not like pulling from prescribed funds.
You're pulling from the tax base, technically.
Foregoing
Yeah,
Yeah,
revenue,
you're
yeah.
foregoing
has
revenue.
a
Yeah.
similar
Yeah,
effect.
but for a certain amount of time.
Adjustment like on the property tax
Correct.
bills that like just went out, like you
Correct.
get an abatement in that. Okay, so no exchange of money. All right. Let's grab everything you just said.
And the period of time is only up for 5 years, is that?
Can be extended, I think, under circumstances,
Okay.
but typically it's a 5-year agreement.
Are there areas on the map, I know one of the requirements is that there is to be some public benefit as well. Are there areas on the map that should be targeted?
Yeah, well, there's some areas, the one I think of, which would have a public benefit, kind of at least for land preservation, resiliency, is salt marsh migration.
Okay.
I mean, that's been identified through the open space plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, becoming more resilient along our coastline,
Mm-hmm.
I think would have would provide a public benefit, I think.
So are we looking at property around Great Heron Point and at that end, or further up the river?
I think
If it's salt
you
marsh.
want along the river and going out the river at the mouth and then
Okay.
up. So along Great Bay coastline, Lamprey River,
Mm-hmm.
I think to be a public benefit there. It could be.
There's a lot of efforts currently going on in that section of Newmarket's. The southernmost coast on Great Bay, between the Squamscott and the Lamprey.
Okay.
That whole area is considered some of the most promising area for salt marsh migration
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on all of Great Bay.
Mhm.
So I think having ability to enhance that would be really pretty attractive.
Yeah. So going through step 3, this is page 2. When the town council is analyzing if there is a public benefit, and these are some suggested ways to think about it, is there a specific identified public benefit that would be addressed by the proposed activity? Is the proposed use consistent with the local master plan or development regulations? Does the public benefit of replacement of a structure exceed that of rehabilitation? So from a structure standpoint. So I think we know that there are some focus areas within the master plan that the town would like preserved, or at least accommodate for through climate change. So, so I think you could make an argument along those, in those areas of town for the such relief. And then obviously for, you know, with structures as well, I think that's just going to be dependent on a case-by-case basis. But again, we want people to live. There's, you know, we don't want people to not have a home to live, so I think you
Right.
can make an argument there. And so yeah, so I guess like, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but for this particular zoning, so or statute. So yeah, so this is, so I think my other question to you is, you know, is this, do you want to tackle it both ways, where the committee recommends maybe one, establishing a coastal resiliency incentive zone and also a capital reserve fund for, maybe that's more honed in to the downtown?
I guess the other question I have too is that we did discuss at the last meeting that Rye was a community that had put this in place but had no action on it. Do we have any idea as to why?
I have yet to connect with them, but
Okay.
I'll do a follow-up there.
Okay.
I think the two steps you just outlined make sense. You know, especially kind of refreshing myself here that each individual, you know, case or anyone that would bring it before is going to be individually like assessed afterwards anyway. Then I don't see any reason to restrict the area at first. Like expand the zone, give more people the opportunity to potentially seek it, and then it can be determined if it has, you know, meets those criteria and has that public benefit on a case-by-case basis. So I think having the zone be larger than not large is beneficial. But I do like the idea of also establishing some sort of capital reserve fund for the downtown, because I think that signals a financial interest in supporting that effort.
Is it fair to say, creating this opportunity doesn't require the town, I mean, in other words, the town will assess whether they want this to move program.
Yep.
The town council really just gives them the opportunity for people to propose this to the town council, and the town council decide whether the revenue loss is worth the public benefit.
Correct. So,
So it's just coming forward from us as a recommendation,
That
and then the town council will decide what to do with that.
correct.
Right, and then in the future, the town council would also be charged with evaluating any proposals that do actually come forward.
Yeah.
Because in a way, that's where the rubber will meet the road. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
So town council seems to be the identified party for ultimately assessing.
Establishment and reviewing requests.
Yeah, so like establishing actual applicability and review of the request. How do people know this exists? Like just for background, like standpoint, like is this something in the planning board process that would be identified, or like?
I imagine the route that would be taken is, if there were a recommendation come out of here, we'll go to town council. Council will probably send it to planning board for review. And then from planning board, they'll make their recommendations back to town council and they'll finally vote on it. That's my guess. If it were to be, during that process, I think I would notify every affected property owner during the planning board process to give them notice that this is a consideration. And then I'm not sure exactly what when town council were to review it, what their noticing requirements are for that, but I have to look into that. But just from my common practice, is I would just make sure everyone's notified that would be affected. So we have, I have the budget for that, so I'd make sure that happens.
Would this go to a warrant article or?
Depends on town council, so they can send it to warrant or they can vote on it.
Mhm.
Yep.
But planning board would also have an awareness too, like
Yeah.
so they could potentially recommend that, or at least be aware of its existence for
Yeah.
projects that move in front of them. Have you considered use of CRIZ?
Yeah, and I had to. And then each application, say if it was codified, I'll have to see how it's done in the past. Typically, with 79E applications, the traditional community revitalization, planning board would already be involved through site plan review or something. So there'd already be, for instance, the mills, Timbered Mills, So they've always been involved just because of other regulations. Not necessarily the case moving forward if this were to be established. Could be. Maybe most likely because these are sensitive areas. So I think any application have to go through all the permutations, but it would most likely need plan board review. And the other challenging aspect that we face right now, our zoning ordinance only allows, there's exempt parcels, and then there's other parcels that are allowed to expand. It's only in the M1, which will now the VC, and then also the M2 district. So all the new village parcels can't expand at all currently.
Can or cannot?
Cannot,
Okay.
without a variance.
In size, or just can't make anything that changes what their impervious area without?
Yeah, I mean in size. So basically, no new structures.
Okay.
No expansion of structures. There's a question on freeboard, too, if they can still go through that process. But I think what my other
Like freeboard?
freeboard means you're elevating your structure,
Okay.
to be above the flood elevation. So you're either like 2 or 3 feet above. Things usually 1 or 2 feet that you require. So that's kind of concerning that a lot of those properties are trapped. And it is a flood-prone area, but if we have an opportunity to allow for property owners to elevate, I think we should allow them that without getting a variance. My opinion. So that's something I think the planning board could also make a recommendation if they were to move this forward. If they were to go through the process, I think I'd bring that up and have them weigh on that. So maybe this gets accompanied by a zoning change as well. So that's probably another benefit of the plan board review is, if this was going to town council, it might be supplemented with some other changes, recommended changes.
So with the actual establishment of, a CRIZ fund, a capital reserve fund under RSA 34 or 35, how, you had kind of mentioned maybe reducing the scope of that a little bit to like the downtown.
I think so.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
My question is like procedurally, how? Without like knowing those, like you just pick and choose what that fund will actually support.
Maybe that's a discussion we should have. I think I think having a dedicated capital reserve fund, and this is the question, should it be for, a wide range of things, or should it be specific to infrastructure? And we can define what infrastructure is too. So that's probably a good discussion to have, or to think, maybe to carry over into August. Because we still have time to write a warrant article if the council or the committee decides to recommend it.
It feels like more targeted to where we're talking about is.
And it complements the master plan chapter as well.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll kind of defer to Lindsay too. Lindsay, do you think that'd be a good establishment, having something specifically for that area? Or do you think there's enough out there?
Town.
Yeah.
I would agree that, because I think that's where we would see the greatest public benefit, and that's where we are actually coastal.
Yep. Okay. True.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Open up the tax relief opportunity for more folks to combat the overall resiliency aspect of it, but withhold the money for the core downtown area where public benefit is at its maximum. I think that makes sense. How detailed do we ultimately need to be with like a recommendation on this?
I don't think you have to. I think you can make a recommendation, and then I can write a report with it. So basically summarizing all the discussions that we have. So I think you could just simply make a motion at some point. Establishment of coastal resiliency zone in order to mitigate any adverse effects to flood events, and to provide alternative relief to property owners. So something to that effect. And then same thing with capital reserve fund. It's not official yet, but a lot of effort has been made to create a regulated plan for this area, and we need a source to save for those improvements, or account, if you will. So, and then at the next meeting, I can put some bullet points together too for everyone to discuss on reasons for. And if you want to hold and wait for everyone.
Yeah, I think that may be worthwhile just to let everyone there, especially with Joe being like the direct town council rep. I feel like him being part of the discussion has value. Knowing we haven't missed the boat on potential article timing either. Have we on capital reserve funding? Isn't that kind of like now?
Yeah, it's starting up. The process, department heads are proposing budgets, so they're drafting it right now, and then late August, we'll start reviewing this year's. So this will be for next year.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then I think it is successful. It'd be good to start, April, May, start kind of thinking about what should we target first. By that time, the master plan chapter will theoretically be adopted, and then start going through that the action item list. Start having discussions on what to target first and how to save for it.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion, debate about this? I mean, we can hold making a formal recommendation until next meeting, but about like extents or intent, anything further?
I think, do we need a motion on anything now, Bart?
I think to make it formal, it'd be nice to have one.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on record.
Yeah, which means you're going to come back with the bullet points in August, and we'll have already.
Yeah, I can draft some recommended language to consider as a motion. If you all decide to move forward with this, and some rationale behind it.
So
based on what we all discussed, so.
Yeah, based on our discussions, a motion to move forward with a more formal discussion in August, is that?
No, you don't have to do that now, you can just say, we want the full committee here to, and then at that point, you make a motion to recommend
Okay.
to council.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I would think that makes sense, to ideally have 4, if not a full committee,
Right.
to make a formal recommendation, but in line with what we've discussed in the general layout of the maps.
Yeah, and we've stated here, at least we've stated that that's what our intention is to do in August, so anybody that's following,
Exactly, and it gives people more time too, if, people are following, if they want to comment, have an opportunity, so.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we're good. Anything further on this specific item? Well, Bart, thanks for the maps and for kind of putting stuff together.
You're welcome.
The last couple months, sort of working through this. The under other business, I was going to bring up that planning board had a workshop session last Tuesday for the Riverfront chapter that both Betsy and I actually did attend anyway, where there was some discussion about just the chapter in general. I did give a little bit of insight, kind of what I think was on our minds. We helped Liz with creating the initial chapter, and then Liz gave some of her thoughts. I'm not sure I heard the end. Like, what are they doing with it from there? I feel like I didn't hear the final outcome.
It's more of an editing
Yeah.
than anything else. They want it a certain way, to look a certain way, be a certain length. So really, the main interface chapter, and then a lot of the other, wherever it doesn't make the cut, gets sent to the appendix. So we're not losing anything, it's just where do you place it. And everything's going to be hyperlinked. So really you're going to have two different experiences if you have the PDF version or if you have the online version. So that's the gist of it.
I did get the impression that brevity was something there was a worry with. And
Yeah.
and it's one thing when you're involved with it and you're looking at it and you say, oh, this information is important, but then when you're moving it to the next level and you're looking at it from a townsperson who's going to be reading it, and you're like, oh, this is way too much information,
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree.
yeah.
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 well, I like the sort of high-level executive that you can immediately go to more detail when you want it as a general. That's always a handy way to
Yep.
structure.
Yeah, how can you, brevity, how can you be succinct, point, and then if you want more information, you can have your journey in the appendices.
Yeah. So kind of in conjunction with that, wanted to have like a short discussion amongst us because something that I also noticed was a few people attended from Rivermore, including a couple of the board members, and spoke to the the recent posting and putting up of the signage of it being private property. So I think that there should be kind of some further discussion from this committee and potentially if we're talking about making a recommendation to town council on the coastal resiliency zone next meeting for discussion now, but would also propose potentially two other recommendations to town council. One being something I know we talked about right after the what am I looking for? The charrette. Thank you. Like meeting. What was that meeting? Right after the charrette about potentially having a legal review done, not just of the Rivermore property, but really like all the ones we've talked about down there of, again, like as we talk about connectivity and any of these projects and any expansion, like having that real accounting of like what is recorded for all of them, having town council render an opinion on that. I think we have to. I think it just has to be done. So that was kind of item one of potentially making a more formal recommendation to town council to take that up. I know there's been some some discussion about it. I think there's been some work done, but as a more formal action to solidify what's going on down there, as really all of these capital projects and potential projects get discussed. Like, what are the town's actual rights? And then the other one was, I can't remember the gentleman who spoke to it, but kind of put out potentially the town attending September board meeting or a future board meeting of Rivermore. Either board meeting or separate meeting. I think we should make a recommendation that town staff do that. I think there's value. So maybe we'll save that for motions in August, but without major objection, it seems like both of those have value.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree to those.
I know we've reviewed the easements,
Okay.
the association has,
For like Rivermore, for other ones too.
for Rivermore.
Okay.
And the town has the easement for sewer maintenance, sewer
So-
line maintenance, and that's it.
Okay. No, good to know.
So, yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there were issues that came up on social media that was inflamed the issue of people coming across the property, and that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
And again, I think, I was walking through that area again, and is signage. I don't know what the town's position is when residents take into effect making their own publications on town property. I don't know what the town does in regards to that, but there is signage there that has been posted by a resident prior to coming onto Rivermore property. And again, that's something I feel the town probably needs to take a look at. So, and it can be of derogatory nature.
Can you explain what you're talking about? Somebody put a sign up on town property?
Yes, on the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So,
right before you get to it.
yeah, so Rivermore has posted that their property is private. We've had, since the charrette went up onto the town website, we've had a number of instances where we've had people basically making themselves comfortable in the seats, sitting at picnic tables, destroying picnic tables, sitting there at all hours of the night drinking beer, people coming down onto the rocks on the seawall, which Rivermore has paid for. That was not a town project or a state project, that came from our funds. Fishing, and when asked to leave said picnic tables, rocks and all, residents are met with some very nasty responses from members of the community. And that's been distressing. We've got gardens back there, we've had people picking flowers. So it's really kind of accelerated a lot of the negative behaviors of the public. And it's frustrating when you have that occurring on your backyard. So we've posted signs that it's private property, and the sign went up, and a town resident actually came onto the property very aggressively and made some comments to some of the owners there, and it just kind of escalated on social media. So, which is a shame. It's really a shame.
It's a disappointing situation, and yeah, I can definitely sympathize and understand with
Yeah,
It's your
and we
yard.
have kids coming by on motorbikes and people on skateboards and scooters, and they see the speed bumps as challenges to see how high they can pop a wheelie, and people coming down on motorcycles, and motorcycles and bicycles and electric scooters, and it's a risk for us. It's a liability risk. So, that's a challenge. So.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing to just also kind of hear some of those stories and just kind of it doesn't seem within the character of this community.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Exactly. I think that's where the disappointment is.
Yeah.
Is that it's not it definitely has taken a 180 change in the last 18 months,
Yeah.
so.
Yep. So yeah, I think opening a dialogue, seeing what can be done that's mutually beneficial or helpful for
Mhm.
for both the town and for you,
Mhm.
just you collectively, Rivermore.
Yeah, yeah.
The formal you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an action that's needed at this
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
Um, it, I don't know, Bart or Lindsay, do you want to say anything or stay out of it?
Yeah. One, it's pretty unfortunate, people act the way they do. Like anyone should receive that type of, behavior. I mean, I think people should be civil, but, um, so that's unexcusable. Two, we're your private property, Rivermore is. I think just right now is a misunderstanding where people can go,
Mhm.
and we're trying to clarify that. I think this committee, the office I work in, town in general. So I think we're working on that. And three is better signage. Rivermore paid to put signage up, but I think as a town, we all, at least through this master plan process, have identified that signage is key to a lot of different aspects. So so improving that upon that would be great to help clarify different areas of ownership. And yeah, so I think we have a path forward. But if right now, it's just hopefully people can be civil, through this. But uh, hopefully, that's all we can hope for until we have a resolution and everything. So, but again, we're working. We're going to be working with Rivermore. When we do get invited, and then also through this committee. And it's great to have a channel, with Rivermore, with Betsy here. So that certainly helps. And hopefully just make a better waterfront for everyone. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've had a couple conversations with people since the charrette, and especially I think more than one person has told me that was the first time that they had heard that the area directly in front of Rivermore was actually private and not public. So I think about that and people I've known in town, and then I think about someone from Exeter or Durham or whatever.
Right.
Like, how are they ever going to know? if
Right.
People who live here still aren't sure about
Exactly.
that. So
Exactly.
that's where it kind of returns to again, just I think signage and wayfinding and direction around there is essential for everybody. So.
And also maybe too, if there's some editing that's going to be done on the Riverfront chapter, maybe in the executive summary, really highlight the fact that, there are areas of private property that residents need to be aware of. And those will be the challenges for expanding in a particular direction, well, in any direction,
Yeah.
that is necessary.
Excellent. For timing of August, I was hoping we could have some discussion here. So I know in May we had looked ahead at what the second Tuesday was for all of them, and I know I had kind of bracketed August 11th because I thought I might be out of town that day. I actually am going to be out that day.
Okay.
Realistically, I could probably do either the 4th or the 18th.
I'll be away the 4th.
Okay. I'm also trying to think about the 11th. I don't think I'm going to make it back for 4. I just don't think that's going to happen.
I have flexibility on the 4th or the 18th, but if you
Okay.
can make the 4th, I guess check with Ingrid and,
Yeah, I may have
And
put
Joe.
it out to email, just. Um, yeah, yeah, I knew that was the only one that was potentially problematic, and it is going to be. So I might have to look to see if we can do that as a committee, either the 4th or the 18th. Just Dale, if it does end up being the 4th, do you have a major issue with putting forward a motion on any of the kind of 3 topics we talked about?
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll happen on the date I can be here, but we'll see what happens. I guess.
on the 18th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping the 18th will work. But if it can't, it can't, I guess.
All right. Talk to everybody. Any major issue? Anything else?
I'd like to confirm sooner or later, so he's put it on the calendar, so it's accurately depicted.
Yeah.
Maybe try to figure that. I think seems like Joe has email access. I'm not sure about Ingrid right now, but maybe try to confirm next week.
Yeah, I'll try to send something tonight or tomorrow morning, just so it doesn't get lost. See what we can do. Okay. Anyone have any other business to discuss? It's not raining yet, so.
Yay.
That's good.
Okay. Hearing nothing, then I would make a motion, or does someone have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move, or acclamation, or however way.
All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent.
Great.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Great,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.